Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, YouTube channel made by Celtic fans all over the world for Celtic fans all over the world. As Brian pulls things out of his briefcase, I'll say from Coatbridge to Crystal Palace, Rutherglen to Rijeka. Is that how it's pronounced? I don't know. Anyway, wherever you're watching from, you're very much part of A Celtic World. And we have representatives from Scotland, Ireland, and Korea. Let's say hello to them in that order. Kaiser and Gleska. All right.
Yo, legends, living my best life. Leading into this big build-up week towards the treble. Enjoyed myself at the Trondheim party. Met Baz from One Celtic Fans Viewer. Had a great time. Loved it. Would do it again. We'll do it again after the cup final.
Good. Maybe we'll have a wee peek at that then later in the show.
Yes.
Brian, who's ready for action there as soon as the credits started rolling. How goes it?
Yeah, no, going well. I feel a bit entitled, which I didn't want to feel watching the game on Saturday. To the point that I went done a bit of gardening. I know it sounds really bad, but then I come back in and Jamesy scored. So just great day, just unbelievable. I think it's the fact that we still have a game to go in the cup, so not everyone's sort of going hell for leather with emotions.
Absolutely.
But just great to get another league under the belt, and well done to the boys.
Well done indeed, and well done to Dano for his final league watch-along/drink-along. I believe you had a special guest this week.
Oh, I did, and yeah, it was quite the tale of technical daring and didgeridoo for our final watch-along. Yeah, but we got through it, man, and Jamesy finally scored, which made it all worth it. So it was great.
It's apart from that,
You have another
dull.
watch-along coming, Daniel? You have a cup
What's
final watch-along?
Oh yeah, we got a cup final
in the post.
Final league watch-along.
Yes.
Yeah.
I abandoned you for it. I'm very sorry, Daniel.
Yeah, I was like, what's he doing telling me to be there?
Yeah. Asshole.
Quite a lot of people feeling champion or asking if we're all feeling champion.
Yes.
Hello to everyone in the chat, as always. You legends, as Kaiser likes to say, of the chat.
All the legends in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
They make it worthwhile.
Yeah. Okay, so don't have time to say hello to everyone, but what's going on here? Monty likes to call out the dramatis personae. So there's Dickie, Dano, Kaiser, and Brian Alberts.
Yeah, Gav, I made the comment one time that I admired Alberts, and Monty thinks I'm a secret Hun. So,
oh yes, I
deserve it. Brian, you deserve it.
Yeah,
although there is a picture of me somewhere, I must dig it out, of me in a full Rangers regalia. I lost a bet to a fellow worker, so I must dig that out for the crack.
This is like when the news pulled up the file photo of Homer Simpson and he's dressed like a Rusky communist. And like,
yeah,
Lisa says, I told him that picture would come back to haunt him.
Yep.
Yeah. That's why Canadian Prime Minister in blackface.
Yeah, that's why I never get into politics.
Exactly.
Too many skeletons in the cupboard or the closet or whatever the hell.
Pictures and full Rangers strips.
Yeah, that's the least of my worries, to be fair.
Yes.
Yeah, there are other pictures circulating. Anyway, we're going to talk about these various things. Championes, which is champions in absolutely no language, I think, whatsoever.
Spelling
we're going to talk about
the spelling. Is it not? Should not be another E in that, no.
Well, people sing championes, but that's not a word. So I just wrote what people shout.
Don't listen to me.
Some guy named Jota wrote it down. So,
Jota,
Yoda. And then we're going to spend a little while just talking about this season and what it was like. And A Walk in the Park is the title of the episode, this live stream. So was it How easy was it? We're going to talk all about that. And then other things that are in the news, followed by Celtic socials. So we're not going to go through the game in great detail or anything, because there was absolutely nothing really to pick out. I did the watch along with Dano, and it was dull as dishwater until Jamesy popped up to score the goal. Kaiser, tell me about your outpouring of emotion when Jamesy connected with that shot.
Yeah, definitely. For years and years, I remember like a few years ago, I was arguing with someone online who was berating James Forrest for having a 25 grand a week wage and a penthouse apartment in Glasgow city centre in the Merchant City. And I was, I'm like, it's not a penthouse apartment in New York. It's Glasgow city centre. And he's like scored umpteen goals that earned us multi millions in Champions League qualification and stuff. It popped up with those goals that earned us those millions. And I've always respected James Forrest. I've always admired him as a player. Yeah, as a winger at Celtic, it's got to be the most disposable position. Players get burnt out so fast, and we demand such results from wingers. For James Forrest to be there all this time and to come in with that goal at the end of the game, it was just written in the stars, wasn't it? It just seen fully grown men shedding tears, and it was like something out of a Hollywood blockbuster written in the stars.
Yeah, Monty may have been one of those fully grown men. Look, he says he was behind the goal when Forrest scored, and there was bedlam. Is bedlam a term you're familiar with, Dano?
Bedlam, madness. Yeah.
A state of that comes from.
Dano's American. He was born of Bedlam.
I forget exactly. I thought it was from an American mental institution, but it might be.
I thought it was a British one, but it's a mental institution called Bedlam.
Yeah.
Anyway,
like
that's just by the way.
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah. Okay. There's me thinking it was a word from our side of the pond, checking if you knew it. Anyway, we'll fact check that after the show, Brian. Don't you worry. You know, we like to get things right. Brian, I was just thinking this is a bit like having you three on, as I said in the group chat, it feels like there's going to be like no adults in the room. I feel like I'm down the back of the class, I'm the teacher down the back of the class with the naughty boys.
Yeah.
Yep. Welcome.
In fact,
welcome to the back
I have a distinct memory.
The smell of steel regal king size coming from me, tip extenders and other potential things. Farts as well, I'm sure. Sorry.
Lots of farts.
No BO, though.
I remember, Brian, being down the back of the class with you and various others, and we're messing about and not paying any attention, having fun, getting up to mischief. And then they passed out exam results, like some little test we'd done, and I got like an A or something, and everybody else was getting shit scores, and you were like, look at you, Macaulay. As if I hadn't lived up to my end of the bargain.
Yeah.
I sit down here. It's the social contract is that you do shit in your tests.
Right.
You don't come in with good scores.
Right. Let's see, when you come out of your exams years ago, and you said to people, "Well, how did the exam go?" And they went, "Oh, it was crap. I done crap." And I went out and said, "I actually did crap." And then we got the results, and everyone that said they'd done crap done brilliant, and I did crap. So at least I was consistent, consistently lazy.
It's one of the only
who wants to study for their GCSEs when there's bands like the Smiths, Jesus and Mary Chain, there's chicks out there that basically don't want to talk to me, and then you can play rock and roll. So who wants to study for A levels when you've all that going on?
Well said, Brian. It's never held you back, my man. Look at you.
Who's saying this?
That's me.
That's you.
Yeah.
Mary's of Bethlehem in London. Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Bethlehem.
Bedlam.
Fantastic. So apart from that, the game was rubbish, wasn't it, Dana?
Oh man.
What did we learn?
Absolute garbage. I mean, we've learned this before. I mean, the main two problems are just profligacy in front of goal. We get chances, we don't take them. I mean, Maeda's header right in front of goal really stands out on that front, and just falling behind early, man. We just constantly do it every week in, week out. So, yeah, it was just I mean, it was a dull watch, man. It was a dull
The
watch.
ref didn't do too much to help it, Donald.
No, he was bad.
He
was genuinely. He was.
I'll buy any old shite.
But yeah, I mean, as a watch, as entertainment, it was a pretty bad game of football.
Mm-hmm. I think St Mirren have been fantastic this season, and this definitely came to stifle. They were playing for European places, trying to fight for European qualification. I thought Brendan would have, with the other players coming in the game before, I thought the first team squad and not the makeshift squad that had played so well, I thought the first team players would have come back in and really staked their claim for their cup final spot. It left me looking at the game going, Brendan should have played the team for the week before. They were all fresh and something to fight for, and it would have been a blockbuster game. I think it was a bit of a letdown for 89 minutes, and then it culminated in is getting lucky.
Yeah, St. Mirren's a tough out. I don't want to sell them short. They're typically one of the tougher teams in the league to play, but yeah, I mean, it just wasn't great to watch.
I mean, they had something to play for. You know, our game was a dead rubber effectively, but they had something. They had the edge. They had the eye of the tiger, did they get into Europe? Didn't they?
No.
Dundee
United. I think Dundee United scraped through.
Yeah,
that's right.
This is how the table looks. That's how we look at it. Well, obviously we're on top, 92 points. Sevco second, 75. Hibs third. Dundee United coming in on 53 points, ahead of Aberdeen in fifth. St Mirren in sixth. So it was a real eventful day, wasn't it? For that,
it was
that sort of patch of places, fourth, fifth, sixth. How do we feel about that?
I was going to say it shows how much after an amazing start to the season and going level pegging with Celtic, Aberdeen fell away, went into a tailspin, absolutely dropped off a cliff, and somewhere in the season, Hibs found their form. I don't know where they found it. Maybe they found it where Aberdeen dropped it because they picked it up and they've stormed in there. Very disappointed for St Mirren missing out on European football when you consider the top 5 sides in England are going into the Champions League and the 5th place side in Scotland isn't even getting into the Conference League or something like that. It's a bit of a slap in the face because they've played very well this season. I think the income, the money that they got from their European exploits as well, it would really help them. St Mirren have been fantastic. Scaled to Huns a few times this season as well. So
tell you what, and Hibs got off to a start that was polar opposite to Aberdeen. I mean, I remember both Edinburgh clubs being literally 11 and 12 at the bottom of the table at one point. So, man, massive credit to Hibs. I mean, they ended like champs, man. They had a really great end of the season.
Congratulations to the ladies Hibs team who also won the title on Sunday.
Won the women's title.
Yeah, defeating the Sev Cows at Ibrox.
The Sev
Cows.
Very good. Well, this was the very end of the season. This is the form table. Hibs didn't have an amazing very end of the season, but they had such a good run right up until that. Still wasn't bad, couple of wins, couple of draws in the last 6. Aberdeen's, look at that, 4 losses to end the season. That is just grim.
Yeah.
Was very impressed with Jimmy Tulin. I think it's Tulin. I think that's how you say it correctly. At the start of the season, I was like impressed with him coming in. The robust football that Aberdeen were playing. I thought, he's going to bring that Scandinavian effect like Knutson and stuff is doing over there. I'm like, he's going to bring a bit of rigidity to Aberdeen. He's going to make them a challenger in the top 3, and they just completely fell off a cliff. As I said, it's unusual to push a sheep to a cliff edge and it fall off, but Aberdeen certainly done it. They went into free fall and maintained their virginity, and they were not pushing back for the cliff edge.
So back to the table, there we are on top, and we won by a good, healthy margin. And I just wanted to talk about, was it, you heard Rodgers in an interview there, he was talking about one of the challenges this year was being so comfortable at the top. How could he keep the players motivated and that? Was this the easiest league victory in years? How easy was it?
I think there's been stages of this. Looking back on the entire season, from this stage here. I know we've still got the cup final to go and an incoming treble. But looking back on this season, I'm like delighted with the way Celtic performed in Europe and stuff and the way we've performed in the league. But there has been a few gut punches. There has been that Dortmund game where we get hammered, and that was a gut punch. That really knocked the wind out of my sails. And then a couple of the results against the Rotten Mob as well. Away at Ibrox, getting defeated by them and not really having the fight in the squad. Brendan not tactically adjusting. I think that's just indicative of Celtic fans. We can be delighted about winning and being the best club in Scotland. We're delighted about that. But we can also be very analytical and examine how we've done and look at the manager and go, right, well, let's just look at just how you did this season as a performance, Brendan, how you managed to rotate the squad. And that there was parts of the season I was like, Brendan's really high IQ rotating these players. I didn't see what was coming, didn't know what he was doing. And then there's been other times where it's just complete bafflement. I'm like, that's completely baffling. What's going on there? I remember at one point we changed like 5-6 players for a game and came out and just absolutely stuttered. So like wee markers of that throughout the season. I remember these, rather than the massive highs, I remember the little gut checks and the little kick in the stomach, especially in Dortmund. That one where I was playing so well in Europe, doing so well, and where we eventually ended up. That one was massive. It still shows us as Celtic fans, we might be able to dance with the big boys every now and again, but we're not exactly ready to be in there swatting digs. So a bit of squad investment and a few players out and a few players in. I think we could be really standing in a fantastic position for next season. For me, Brendan needs to sign a new deal. The manager needs to lock into a new deal, and then all the pressure goes onto the board to back the manager. If Brendan continues to be wishy-washy and airy-fairy and say, oh, I'm going to wait to see if the board back me, and then I'll sign a new deal, it'll never happen. We'll end up with Archie Knox for Aberdeen FC or fucking Leyton Orient. Or if Brendan signs a deal and puts his money where his mouth is, then the board will also, all the pressure flips onto the board and they're forced to spend, in my opinion. If Brendan continues to...
Yeah, there hasn't been that much talk about, when's he going to sign this new deal recently. I hope that's not going to be tied to transfer activity, that whole conversation, because regardless of whether he's here for one season or another 3 or 4, we need to get the best players possible in the door. Yeah. Brian, you're a bit of a long-termer. Yeah. I want to ask Brian, tell me, what season was easier than this in your memory? Is this not a real cruise to victory?
I can't think of one, Gav, or maybe the Martin's first season, or one of the Lennon victories. But I think, is the back of what Kaiser said, I think that the team's resilience has been fantastic this year, and there has been a few bloody noses. There's been the Dortmund game and the couple of Sevco games, pardon my French, and then getting beat by St Mirren. And I think we as a fan base were too often ready to write players off. And I'm talking about Yang. Yang is, I remember when he came on first couple of times going, Jesus, what's this guy? Did he win a competition to play? But he has come on, and even the big fella Ida, people are slagging him off saying he wasted money, but he's banged in 20 goals. He's only had a handful of appearances, from a handful of starts. But it was never, I'm not saying it was never in doubt. By November it was over. And it's hard to get I'm not saying it's hard to get yourself motivated and all the rest of it. And as soon as we led an opportunity for the Maggie mob, they pissed the bed. We lost the game, then they lost the game. So we turned up when it mattered. But I can't, Gav, think of an easier league win than this in a long time, because there was games we didn't even get a second gear. You know what I mean? It's just that. But hey, that's because of the work we've done, not only as a club behind the scenes, but having the best available manager. Yeah. Rodgers was saying, it's not as if we're waltzing in at 10 o'clock and leaving at 2. From what I believe, Rodgers is there at 7 o'clock and 8 o'clock in the morning, and he's the last one to leave. So it's by doing everything correct, getting Adidas, doing everything correct, and having the best coaches and the best, what do you call it, sports science and all the rest of it. So if other teams don't, rise to the top, it's not our fault,
Well, on that very point, Sarah here makes the point. The goal difference from us to second place, Sevco, that's a huge sign that we're a better side, better quality players all over the pitch. The goal difference you can see there, 86 is what it says in the Celtic line, and then 39 is the next number, and then 12. I mean, my goodness, that is pretty stark. So, Dano, next season, who are you expecting a challenge from? Or part one of that question, are you expecting a challenge from anyone? And part two, from whom?
In the roster, Yang, I think.
No, I mean from another club.
Oh, from another club in the league? Not really. I mean, it would be the usual suspects, basically. Sevco. I mean, it'll be more interesting to see like who goes and who's vying for a starting position and who comes in, basically with our roster. I mean, if you compare us to any other team in the league, I mean, you're looking at much higher ceiling as far as our young players who are going to be coming up and getting regular time. I mean, you've got Bernardo, Angles, Yang. I mean, there's a lot going on there where you can say like the future's pretty bright. They're going to be in their second year at the club and all that stuff. So I think that's going to be a more interesting thing to watch. Who's going out, who's vying for roster spots, and the future's bright with the youngsters, man. I'm really looking forward to it.
See that the other Alpha's saying, right? That's indicative of most years, and most of it we'll see is Celtic will try and secure that qualification, and then the board will free up money. What I think is different about that is this supposed 69ers takeover of the Sevco, and are they going to invest money? Is there going to be wholesale changes there? I do very much see it for every £5 they spend, we're going to spend a tenner, and that's just the way we're going to be. I think there's 11 players basically within the squad who are on their way out. That's a massive, massive turnaround. And then the kind of players that Brendan's going to look to bring in is going to be like between 7 and 14 million for every position, every player. Like in the Engels mould, and a young 20-year-old at 9 million, you've got to look at Engels this season, the way he's performed. If he's performed towards the end of the season, he's more than worth the money, in my opinion. He's worth about 20 million right now. Easy.
Absolutely.
Adam Ida, right? I could look at Ida and go, 9 million for 20 goals in a season, all day long. I'd pay that all day long.
Yeah,
no doubt.
And we've grumbled and griped. I would say Ida, if we would have signed him at the price we were originally getting him at, we would be touting him at 10, 11, 12 million right now. That's what we would be saying as fans. Because we paid so high for him, he's sort of meeting that valuation now for me. He's at that level. Celtic fans stop giving him a hard time. He's worth the 9 million. I mean, calm down.
9 million's not a huge amount when you think about it. And we bought Sutton for 6 now. It was 6, Lenny for 5. Like, this is a quarter of a century ago. So 9 million, he's on a 5-year deal. You're not going to lose money on him. But I think in terms of the challenge next season, and hear me out on this, I've heard, not that I've heard, but the guys that are going to buy Rangers are going to put it into administration, so they'll have money. They're not going to come in and pay debts. They're just going to, strip the assets and all the rest of it and take them in.
Fucking jelly ice cream part to it.
Oh man!
No, it is. This is what's happening. Then they're going to start next.
Have you heard this from a reliable source, Brian?
Very reliable source from Monty C. Burns.
Monty in the chat.
not our Monty. No, he's this gentleman's in business, and he seems to think, why would they come in and what are Rangers sort of what are they overdrawn minus 20 million or something like that? They're just going to come in and go into administration, wipe the debt, so they then have a transfer window, I think the following year to put money in, as opposed to putting good money in after bad.
I'm just going to say, Brian, I know Jesus died and then rose again, and he was still the same Jesus. And I know Rangers have died, and they think they're the same Rangers.
Yeah.
But you're telling me they're going to die again and administrate basically Sevco, the holding company again, and reinstitute the new company. So they basically died twice and then came back and still claiming to be the same club. That is hilarious, bro. I thought they were going to do something along the lines that look at the players they had there and try and shift as many as they can and basically balance the books by shifting players like Bessels and Higgyman and whoever else they've got, you know what I mean, and try and sell them on, make some money. And I thought they were going to do it that way. But like, if they're going to go into administration again, that is absolutely hilarious.
It's saving them 20 million by doing that. It's saving them 20 million quid. And the minus, starting off minus 12, really, who's going to, you know, they'll have that turned around by November time, you know.
Don't they have to go?
I think the Pork Chop Express, I think, is right when he talks about it. It'll be a few years, you know, before any fruits of their labor are seen. So, yeah, I don't expect there's going to be any direct challenge in the next season, at least.
See them finishing third or fourth next year. You see those eyebrows crying.
Yeah, it's possible. But listen, it's all about us, as people say. So I want to talk about what are our hopes and dreams for next season. Now, the biggest game of next year, probably you could argue, is this Champions League qualifier that's going to be coming up before we know it. As soon as we've got used to not watching football every week, then that'll be upon us, and that's going to be massive. Now, we still don't know about the seeding thing. I don't know if you're across that news, but I mentioned it at the start that Croatia, that's who we're hoping is going to win the league there, and that'll mean we're seeded. Now, my question is, what will we consider a success next season? Because we all think we did well in the Champions League this year, right? We were all happy with our Champions League performance. And we're all hoping we get into the Champions League for obvious reasons. But, you know, how far do we have to go in the Champions League for that to be better than us winning, say, the Europa League? That's my question. You know, say we don't get into the Champions League and we get into the Europa League, and we've got a fighting chance of going far in that tournament. What level of success in the Champions League outweighs victory in the Europa League for you personally next season? Dano, jump in with that.
I would say getting to or past a playoff like we did this season, because I mean the money between the two is night and day. I mean, if you make the playoff to get to the last 16, you're talking about 10 European games and all the money that comes with that in the Champions League. Yeah, you get paid in the Europa League, but I mean, what is it, like half? Something like that. So you've got to go farther to make it as worthwhile as getting to, say, the playoff round or even the last 16 in the Champions League. So I would say, yeah, we'd need about the same type of performance overall.
Yeah, well, that's spoken like an accountant. I was hoping for like a football fan answer, you know, because as a football fan, it's
all about the
10
money,
times
baby.
more exciting getting into the quarterfinal, semi-final, final than it is doing quite well in the Champions League.
Yeah,
right?
True.
You know, having some good moments. Brian, would you swap this year's Champions League performance for winning the Europa League next year? Or would you like us to do the same?
No, getting a trophy is always paramount, and I think the fans are due a day out. Seville was a great year, and I remember watching it with my late father, and just the highs and lows, and every game. I mean, everyone played their part, and it just unbelievable. And if they can get through to freaking 2 finals, you know, why can't we?
Of course.
You know, and I don't buy this whole, you know, stress and anxiety and strain about the Champions League qualifiers. We're going to be playing Partizan Belgrade, Ferencvaros, fucking AK Athens, excuse my French. We were a ball hair away from taking Bayern Munich to extra time, and we're going to have a proper pre-season. We're going to have KT back in the room. Okay, we've lost Jota, God love him, but we're going to have, we're only going to get better, I think. And the days of the Mastorovic and what do you call your man that played for the left back? I wish Chaduri and all these boys with a decent goalkeeper, with people that need to win, people who know how to win. We've got winners in our team, serial winners. So I have no worries about the qualifiers at all.
Yeah, I think we all want us to get into the Champions League. That's fair enough. But were we to go into the Europa League, Kaiser, there could still be a lot of fun to be had there.
Yeah, of
As a
course.
fan.
Trophy on any European stage is fantastic, considering we've not had one in so many years. And performing amazing in the Champions League, that's all great, but people don't remember what you've done this year when it gets to next year, unless you're the winner. For me, I look at the Champions League in the league phase that we were just in and how exciting that was, the games that we had, the money that we made. And I thought if we went out of Europe at that league stage, we would still have a hat in the ring for winning the European Cup. I don't think we qualify in from the league stage anymore. It doesn't work like that like it used to. But even the teams that go out at that league phase right in the bottom section, they would be in the Europa League final or the Conference League final quite easily. You could see that happening. So I think the level of team, the level of competition and how good we are becoming, because that is the new standard. That is what we are judging ourselves against, is teams at Champions League level. I think Celtic would stroll a Europa League at the level we're at right now. I think it would be a bit beneath us to go and win it. But that's just my sense of entitlement, as people would say. I would be happier going one stage further than the Bayern Munich game there. So getting through that and going one stage further and showing progressing. I would be happier doing that
everyone's
winning the European Cup.
I didn't think Arsenal. Sorry, Kaiser. I didn't think Arsenal were any great shakes. We sent a team out against Aston Villa, and it was like a reserve team almost, and we nearly got a result. And Aston Villa were unlucky against PSG. So if we're in there, and we've got the rub of the green with a good solid ref and with people who can take the chances, we belong with Arsenal, with Aston Villa, Newcastle, and so on and so forth at that level. And I really don't have any worries. I mean, Barcelona, right? Okay, they're a fantastic team. Real Madrid are a team, and they've got a new manager, Xavi Alonso. They're having a bit of a rebuild. Inter Milan, Jesus, I'm older than half of those players, so there's no reason why we touch for a good draw again. Now that's
You're
the worry.
Older than all of those players, Brian.
You're I'm older. I'm older. I'm older than Inzaghi, the manager, I think. But you know what I mean? It's like, we belong there, and it's not like we're playing. There's no.
I'm not hoping for the Europa League, of course. I want to get into the Champions League. I want to do well, of course. I'd like us to do better than we did this year. But it's just a little thought experiment for a laugh. And Sarah's joining in as well. Imagine we went out of the Champions League and they qualify. I'd not like that. But then imagine they did total shite and then us getting to the latter stages of the Europa League. So there's just a lot of permutations to chew on there. I think it's fair to say.
Worst team ever in a group stage.
I think Daniel spot. I think what sort of summed it up for me, Gav, what sort of brought it home was them when they reached the final a few years ago, and people like Ali McCoist were on the TV and stuff and saying if they managed to win against Frankfurt, that would equal the Lisbon Lions. And I was like, hold on right now. That's the Champions League. That's the big cup. So, getting to the latter stages of the big cup is still better than being in the final of the Diddy Cup. Sorry, Europa League teams. I would still like to win it, but the Diddy Cup, the baby cup.
The midi cup. Because the baby cup now is what, the Conference League,
Conference.
Right?
And I think they are going through a qualification process as well.
Look at this. Brian should be placed on the transfer list for that Albert's admission. Gav, can you address that, please? Well, I think we need to sit down and discuss it, Brian, maybe after the show. Step into my office. Well,
some of the boys were asking me to shout, "We are the people," and no surrender, just to the judge your level of vulnerability.
All right.
A couple of gun poses and that. You know what I mean, Brian?
There's probably more Celtic players that I don't like, that I like less than Alberts. I mean, I couldn't stand Chris Commons, and he scored loads of goals. Just didn't like him. And that's just,
Brian, there's nothing wrong with respecting an opponent. You know, there's nothing wrong with respecting an opponent or an adversary. I remember some of my friends were making fun of Fernando Rickson as he was losing his battle. I think it was MS he had or something like that, Parkinson's or something that he had. And I was like, the man was a competitor. That's the reason you don't like him. That's the reason you remember his name. He was somebody who you hated to see on their team sheet. You need to appreciate that as a professional footballer. And you don't humiliate the guy and make fun of him when he's in failing health. For me, that was just kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's way too far, man.
All right, well, here's another little thought experiment.
Rickson's doing donuts on the dance floor.
Who can name a player in the current Celtic squad that you think you might not get on with that well? Dan, or is they're a likable bunch, it would seem, by and large. But are there any that you kind of think to yourself, maybe he's not my kind of guy? I mean, I still respect what he does for the club and all that, but I don't think I'd be buddies with him.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's the personality of Paint.
Yeah, I would say Kuhn. Kuhn just seems to be a guy that's just kind of it's just kind of about himself and not like somebody that I would have like an interesting conversation with, type of thing. He strikes me as somewhat arrogant. I wouldn't really get along with him, or find like some kind of common thing to talk about. You know,
who I wouldn't get on with?
Yeah.
Good question.
I would say currently I would have a quiet word in Schloop's ear, you know, Posh McKinley style, and say, "You're playing for Celtic. I don't give a monkey's what you've done before. Put an effort in." You know, I would kick him. You know, do the Roy Keane, slap Gary Neville in the face. You know, I don't care how bad you are, as long as if you need to put an effort in, you need to just try all the time. You know,
Lindsay says CCV's a Yank, though. Now we don't tolerate that kind of talk here, Dano, of course, just because he's American. But CCV strikes me a little bit like, you know, he loves like a practical joke, and he's a big, hard guy, and I'm not sure I would love CCV's company that much. You know, is that okay to say?
I don't know. I don't know. He seems like a guy who kind of keeps to himself just because he's got that obvious speech impediment, and but he is kind of a funny guy. He does like to joke around. I think I would get along with him. I mean, he's the most Britishized.
I don't expect many people to agree with me on that, to be honest. But just there's something about him. I think maybe he's a bit of, you know, like a practical joker. He might bully you a bit in the workplace, you know.
Yeah, I can see that. Anyway. I can see that. Yeah.
Kaiser.
Anyone jump out on your bike accounts, Gap, and then watching you eat them. I would love to hang about with any of them, to be honest with you. I would like to see what they were like behind the scenes. I think Hitachi's got a very cold personality. He's dead reserved, like Nicholas Kuhn as well, very reserved. But I could see myself having a good time with anyone, not I mean, having a laugh. And Palma would probably end up hanging about with. It would be me and Palma doing the samba for some random reason on the sidelines and never getting a game.
Jota seems like a hilarious dude to hang out with, man. He would be fucking
baby Weeder.
Funny dude.
Oh, he's paying for the taxi.
He'd it too, yeah. I would like that.
It's interesting though. Interesting we chat. All right. Well, what else is in the news? Let's move it on a bit. Here's another player that some people might enjoy the company of. Greg Taylor. Did that look like a farewell from Greg Taylor on Saturday? Asks Lisbon Lion. There's other tweets here saying like, we will never let them rewrite his Celtic career. Greg Taylor was special. Says the Fargo fella.
Yeah,
he's rewriting it right now.
Yeah, exactly. We won't let them rewrite it in a way we don't like. Taylor, then? Is that a Celtic Celtic Park farewell? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think it looked very much like he was waving goodbye. I seen a couple of posts on Instagram as well that people were highlighting, saying it looked like a farewell post, but it could be farewell for the end of the season. You still get the cup final to go, so it's a bit early for him to be like farewell tweets. It could be for see you all next year. Who knows? Brian's talking away while he's muted. I can just see his lips moving.
You'll see the true emotion after the cup final. Once we lift the cup and get the treble, you'll then see the emotion. Then you'll be able to read and see players. And you know, if Dyson Mead is crying his eyes out, and Greg Taylor, and it's yeah. But look at Ange. You know what I mean? A couple of years ago, he was like, they're always there. They're always, the Tommy Burns thing, and then he fucked off. So just be careful of reading too much into people's emotions and things. But we'll lose one. I'm not too sure who it's going to be. I hope it's not Maida, but if it is, we go again.
We go again. And speaking of emotions and getting invested in players, did you see this? Kieran Tierney sort of farewell tweet to Arsenal. Grateful, he says, with a red heart. That's the last time he'll use a red heart for a few years.
Yeah.
It'll be green hearts from here on in.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of the comments are pretty instructive.
Yeah. Grateful. Like if somebody said to you, right, there's all expenses paid, trip to wherever, and you said, yeah, I'm very grateful for that, doesn't really speak too much, does it? I'm grateful. Yeah. I'm grateful I didn't walk in shade.
Corporate communications, man. Whatever.
Yeah, that's nothing.
Yeah, I think it's kind of, you'll be grateful that he played for Arsenal, but he'll always remember playing for Celtic. That's why he's coming back. It's passionate.
So long, and thanks for all the great tifos.
Yeah.
Well,
the lack of.
World class.
I thought you were going to say thanks for all the fish. Is that what you were referencing?
That was a reference, right? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not one for subtle pickups.
Just grabbing what you said earlier on, Daniel, right? And the Albert's comments for Brian, right? Is there any of the current Sevco squad who you would like to go out with for a pint? And any of them you can pick out and go, I would go out for a beer with Dessers.
Actually, I quite like Dessers as a guy. I like the way Dessers conducts himself. Doesn't give a fuck about the fans abusing him, for example. Just gets on with it. He's a smiley guy. He believes in himself. He just does his thing, and he doesn't buy into all the bollocks, really. He's just a player doing his thing, and he's a chilled out, big, fella. I think he'd be all right.
Pint with Dessers, it is.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I said
wouldn't
that
want to
previously.
go pinting with Raskin, that's for sure.
No. I'm trying to think through the rest of the lineup. Yeah, Dessers seems like the only one who's actually pseudo-normal, man.
Raskin could pick you up in his horse and cart, full Amish style, with his wee hat and stuff like that, to take you down the town. What a time it would be.
Monty'd like to go out with Cherney so he could scoosh him in the pus.
Who's the guy? Who's the guy that looks like Simple Jack? And
McCausland. McCausland. Brian's like, I'd go with McCausland because I'd be the best looking one in the group. Just stick him beside
always
you.
the best looking one,
Look, ladies, look how ugly this guy is beside me. Look how good look. That's what you do, Brian. You just bum yourself up. I need to surround myself with guys that are fatter than me. It's getting harder and harder the older I get.
Well, there's a couple sitting here. Well, there's one anyway.
We need to meet up.
Yeah, I can't think who else in their squad you'd consider hanging out with, really.
Couldn't name any of the squad. That's the thing. I couldn't name.
I'm struggling to picture who else plays for them.
I can see maybe Danilo. He's kind of a screwball Brazilian. He seems like kind of a fun
Danilo,
guy.
Yeah. Forget about him.
Yeah. Which is weird.
One of the images of the season when he got injured.
They bought him.
Remember when he got that? Sorry, Tim.
Doesn't get any playing time. I don't know. Weird.
Yeah, I remember when he got injured, and there's a video of him sitting singing along to "Simply the Best." Like he was forced to kind of better than all the rest. It's just so sad and pathetic.
Trying to get his mind off the pain. Yeah.
Geordie
Who's the
Best would
Smith?
have been a decent night out. Well, he
Oh,
wouldn't.
man.
He would drink under the table and run off with the bird you were talking to.
George
So
didn't really.
Yeah, right.
disaster.
Yeah, exactly. Total disaster.
He wasn't a Neil Ruddock style boozer. George would have gotten
True.
pissed really quickly, and then he would
Oh,
have been
yeah.
mouthy or went off with the birds. You know, you're talking to go out for a drink with like Tony Adams and Ray Parlour. Them boys were doing 15 pints on a Sunday and then going and playing a match on a Tuesday. So George, yeah, George, God love him because of the alcoholism. He got pissed really quick, and he is, I think it was champagne was his thing. He wasn't like going knocking 10 pints back, you know. Anyway.
Pete McGee says he spent the night drinking with Best in a London nightclub.
Brilliant.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
No kidding.
You know, there's two
Back in the 40s.
airports in Belfast, and one of them's named after George Best, the city airport. And I always say I'm flying into George Best, you know, and a lot of people think that's ridiculous. Like people in Belfast saying, geez, why do you call it that? It's like, well, because it's named after one of our greatest sporting heroes. I stand by it. And
man.
why shouldn't we? We shouldn't put our heroes down, you know. There's airports all over the world named after local people who've achieved something. Why not Geordie Best? Hey, Brian.
Aston Villa really going to town on the whole Ozzy Osbourne thing now. Like, you know, I don't know if you saw the PSG game, but they're playing Crazy Train, and like it's almost like they've adopted this, and you know, it's a bit pathetic, you know. I'm sure Aston Villa have had tunes before, you know, Ozzy fuck with Osbourne. You know, I like the music. I just think he's a dick. But sorry for the language.
Evan
But a worthwhile
Ludo met
point.
George Best in a Belfast hotel. That's cool. Very good.
That is pretty amazing.
Pete McGee was in Morton's near Berkeley Square. Maybe a nightingale sang in the early hours of the morning. The cultural reference for you there. All right, what else is in the news? Let's talk about this one, because this is interesting. Gary Lineker. I guess we all know what's happened here. So he's been sacked from the BBC, ostensibly because of some tweet that he put out that had a rat in it. But, you know, obviously they wanted rid of him because he's been very vocal about his support for the Palestinian people and can't understand why he's such a lone voice.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're quiet about it, you're complicit, he said very recently. That was probably the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yeah.
So, who'd have thought you'd Gary Lineker, the bane of your existence when you're a young man, somebody I just hated for scoring goals for England, like he did, and then thought he was a crap TV presenter when he started, and now you know he's standing up for that cause, and you know he's got balls on him. You got to respect that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He wants to be on the right side of history. That's like, I think right now people are finding it harder and harder to step away from the fact that it's a genocide when one side has weapons and tanks and missiles and the other side has stones and starving children. It's pretty clear to see what's going on. The more it gets called out, as we've seen, Kneecap brought it to the forefront as well. Seen Gary Lineker has spoke about it before a time ago and then went very quiet on it. But max respect to him for speaking out on it, because as you can see, his career's suffering. His career is suffering. He's losing earnings over it. I thought Brian had something to say there. He's like, you gotta go. Where's Brian's got a doggo? That's a Brian's doggo.
Yeah, Brian's got a dog, man. Yeah, hell yeah, man. I think it's remarkable
to get some fish in that tank and we're sorted.
I think it's remarkable that Lineker, I mean, this is a guy who during his very long career never even received a single card, which is just remarkable. He's getting the red card from the BBC over this bullshit. Like, fuck off, BBC. Fuck off.
There we are.
We go. Brian went and put the top on. I love it.
There he is. Yeah. Do it. I was wearing my Palestino top over the weekend. It was beautiful.
I've got Alberts on the back just for Monty.
Yeah.
Customize Albert's Palestine jersey.
It just says the hammer.
Yeah, right.
Brian's new nickname, the hammer.
Oh, Jesus, don't be doing that to me. There we are. Just to dispel any rumours that I'm a hum.
Love it. Love it.
Very
Look
nice.
fantastic.
Everyone's loving it, man.
Need to get me one of those.
Triple XL, you know. DHQ.
And you get me one of those.
You don't even need the XL.
No, I need the triple, bro. I like a bit of breathing space.
You said getting the Gaelic
Kaiser's
cups.
Kaiser's a lot bigger than he looks on this, you know?
No, you're not. Gaelic tops, I remember trying to get an Antrim top one time with triple XL, and it was all player fit, and you know, like really skin tight. So give up on that.
That's the way they make most of the football stuff nowadays. It's built for skinny models, not us husky or Arctic trucks. You know,
That's
Brian?
Why I never were.
Frumpy middle-aged men.
Yeah. We need a top specifically designed, Daniel, where the hoops get bigger and smaller to make you look skinnier when you wear it as a stretch.
Yeah.
We need this Adidas.
All right, well, from one divisive figure to another. Hearts delighted to announce the arrival of Derek McInnes, proper manager for Hearts. This is Ewan Cameron's post, which is difficult to read, but anyway. A proper manager for Hearts and about feckin' time as well. I've been wanting McInnes since before Nielsen the second time. Brilliant appointment. It's just what our club needs. Yeah, like Derek McInnes, there's not a lot of love for him, I wouldn't imagine, on a Celtic world. Certainly if Steve was here, he'd be venting his spleen and baring his teeth at the very sight of Derek McInnes.
Yes.
So he's going to Hearts. I mean, that's the kind of club that he should be at because, you know, they're a good match for each other in that sense. You can despise them both equally. But the question is, well, how does this fit in with the Jonestown analytics? Don't know.
Diet Deek. That's it. That's the best one there. Diet Deek. He's just signed for the Diet Huns. The Diet Rangers man himself.
Diet Deek, yeah.
Diet Deek. Love it. That's the one.
The thing about it is, if I was Rangers or Sevco, I would have taken him on before the likes of Kashinya and all that. And, you know, we do okay for Hearts. He'd get Hearts probably fourth or something like that. They'll be thereabouts. You get them playing a bit more even more physical than they are. But he's the second place manager. He's not going to win anything, but he'll get them in a respectable sort of fourth place, hard to beat. You know, that's the appointment. So if that's what they're aiming for, fair play to him. But McInnes, nah, he's shite. Excuse my French.
He's a rodent.
Not very good manager.
Yeah, Dano, I was making a wee joke there about the analytics, you know, because of, is it Jamestown Analytics? Is that what it's called?
I think
it's Jamestown.
Yeah, I'm kind of.
I mean, how did they put all the data in and come up with Derek McInnes as the answer to Hearts' problems and the future of football?
I don't know. I think they went to their AI and told them to find the most uninspiring, dour form of football in Scotland that they could possibly get, and they came up with Derek McInnes. I mean, he's an okay manager, but I mean the defensive, you know, kind of hard-nosed stuff he plays is very unattractive. So
I can see Derek McInnes making Tynecastle smaller and letting remember they used to do that. They used to let the grass grow, Dano, and you know, just make it right on the fucking pitch. You know what I mean? But all these kind of teams, once they're 2-0 down, they just shut up shop. You know, they accept 2-0. He's not inspirational, but that's what they deserve. Though Hearts are a fucking horrible lot. You know what I mean? They're not.
They had a bad season, man.
Salted Lennon and all,
Yeah.
Richley can consider himself hard done by, though, can't he? I mean, considering where he took them over, and then he still gets shown the door. Speaking of people being shown the door, here's a picture that Paddy Lavery sent us.
He's still there. He's still there as an ambassador, so he'll be able to get the Rangers mobile out and
Ned Lasso
drive around the likes of Shankill and all, and all these wee places, and say how great we're coming.
The Rangers mobile, hilarious.
It's just a big brown brogue. It's just a big brown brogue, Daniel, with a steering wheel.
The Sev mobile. Yeah.
I'm surprised that nobody's driving after his Orange Ranger right enough. All right, what about some of these picks then? You can talk us through these, Kaiser.
Yeah, that was in the Trondheim with Big Baz for one Celtic fan's view. Went up and met him at the stadium and stuff, walked around a bit, showed him around the city, made sure Kaiser had them protected for all those young rapscallions you see in the background. It was brilliant, absolute fun upon fun. I think the entire incident was bordered by Policia, and they moved in very, very sharply to shift us out of the place. You're zooming in on Mac Rowe's feet at the side of my eyes, Gav. Jesus.
No, I was zooming in on the guys behind.
Look at Kaiser's teeth.
Amazing.
Look at that.
Like a model.
Toothbrush, my man. That saved my life. My
Unreal.
dad bought one when I was a young boy. He says, this.
Bag of cans.
Sorry.
No check on the can, no.
No.
Chick, you're saying chick again, Brian. Chicks, birds. This is terrible for our trying to encourage female viewers.
Lady. Apologies.
Karen, the Celtic fan.
This is Baz and Baz's younger brother. Oh, sorry, Baz's older brother and his mate Des. They three were together. They were the three amigos, and I came in and imposed on their group. But yeah, it was fantastic. You can see you can see the police presence all around. You can see see at either end of the street they had like a line of officers, and it did very much look like the party was going ahead. And I was said to Baz and that, in about an hour's time, they're going to rush this street and clear everyone out, because these pictures here, you see like the average age of people you're seeing in these pictures are for like their 20s to their 40s. If you look about, or some a bit older than 40, but you see the average age of people here, and in an instant all of these people started leaving, and it was just an influx of youngsters who had been drinking in the park all day and then rolled into the city centre, turned up late, weren't even at the game. And there's some of the people who ended up arguing with each other, as youngsters do. You know, whoever somebody's drink and it's a rumble. Yeah, it happens constantly every weekend in every pub in Glasgow. But because it's a Trondheim party and Celtic fans were having fun, they like to try and make a big hoorah about it. I'm actually surprised at how quiet it's been. We've not had these are your ambulance workers' exhausted pictures, or this is your council worker who's almost missing an arm from picking up rubbish.
Can I ask, did anyone see the guy getting injured, Mackenzie, Aberdeen, Dundee United? Right, they threw him on the pitch and he got quite a nasty kind of injury. Is there anything happened on the back of the Huns throwing the bottle of Bucky? Or is it just going to be swept under the carpet once again? But no one else is bringing it up. I'm going to bring it up every week till Gav tells me to do one, because nothing's happening. And it's same old.
I think there's been a change, Brian, in the situation. I think when Sinisalo came out and spoke about what was happening at Ibrox and stuff, after their banner as well, they were very surprised at how harshly the media and stuff viewed them. Because usually when you're used to running around with impunity, singing up to your knees in Fenian blood and it never getting called out, and acting like animals and it never getting called out, when it gets called out, you get very angry when you're being disciplined by the people who have been letting you get away with it. So I think they get called out for their banner, they get called out for throwing stuff, and then all eyes turn to us. I think that's why the board made the decision not to let the GB display their banner, their tifo the next time. I don't know what the tifo was. Maybe it could have been skewed or twisted or used, and they knew that mainstream media and stuff were just waiting for anything from Celtic, and then they're going to compound all of that pressure that they've put on Sevco and point it right back at us. They always try to give us this two cheeks of the same arse, when we're no two cheeks of the same arse. We are very, very different. They are both cheeks of their own arse. Leave them to it.
Paddy, I hope you saw your picture coming up there a few minutes ago. If you've only just joined us, we showed you the picture of Dick Whittington style Ferguson.
Yeah.
Dano, your social media choice of the week?
Yeah, and I can't really see the. I'll get it up on my phone so I can read this. This was pretty cool. Something from Alistair Johnston that I thought was kind of a worthwhile thing. Now, every Canadian knows the legend of Terry Fox, and I'm not Canadian, so I didn't. The Marathon of Hope. This is the 45th anniversary of his Marathon of Hope, when Terry Fox attempted to run across Canada with an artificial leg in order to raise awareness for cancer. In honor of this anniversary, the Terry Fox Foundation is selling some amazing Finish It t-shirts in dedication to him, and it's a pretty sweet t-shirt if you look at the second picture as well. But just something I thought was pretty worthwhile to share. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah, I love AJ. I hope he stays around for a long time.
Yeah, man, me too, man.
Yeah, I don't want him to go.
I mean, again,
He gets it.
again.
Okay, and yeah.
Hope he stays.
He's from California, isn't he? In Canada. You know my geography. Sorry.
That would be British Columbia.
Even you, Brian, would probably know what country Roma is in. And don't know if you saw this, but this is the Roma fans paying tribute to Claudio Ranieri in his final match. 73-year-old came out of retirement to save the club from relegation danger. Went 18 games unbeaten to put them on the brink of Champions League qualification.
Mm.
And look at the fans in the background there when this is their farewell and they're serenading him. It's
That's pretty
very
amazing.
moving. I once met Claudio Ranieri, in London when he was the Chelsea manager. I went to this Argentinian steakhouse in West London, and I was out with work, and I was half cut by the time we got there, and walked in, and who do I see but him sitting there, and we had to walk past his table. So I don't know any Italian, really. All I know was to say, ciao, signor Ranieri, come va? Tutto bene? That's all I know. How's it going? All good? And he got up, dabbed the corners of his mouth, stood up, and greeted me and was like, sì, tutto bene, tutto bene. And everyone was looking at him why are you talking to this fucking idiot for? Sort of thing. This drunken bum walking past.
That's class, man.
I was quite touched, by the fact that he gave me the time of day. He is a gentleman, there's no doubt. Everybody loves him. Everybody's
mafia connections, Gav.
Yeah.
Just he sensed my gravitas.
Flashing the Cosa Nostra card.
Mm-hmm.
It
was the violin case you were carrying, Gav. The violin case.
The horse's head under my arm.
Show me to your pillow.
As opposed to the horse's head somewhere else.
So that was a reference to Italy. Here's a little reference from Spain to our over 113 current viewers, if anyone's new.
Pay attention. This is totally free and great crack. The least you can do is subscribe. Do it now. Cheers.
Oh, great crack.
Did that stop suddenly? Don't know why.
No.
Anyway, the message was, the least you can do is subscribe. Do it now. Cheers.
Subscribe. See.
So if you haven't already, let's keep pushing it up. Let's get to 2,000. Woo, 2,000. Not 15,000 like Hamish. Not 50,000 like, what's your other man called? The one who's in his attic.
Ryan 118.
Yeah, 50,000. We're just humbly seeking 2,000.
He works in
thought it was the
Tesco,
first
doesn't
season.
he, Rand 118?
He used
He
to work
used
for
to-
Tesco's.
Used
That's
to
his
work
only
at Tesco.
job. Now he's full time.
Oh,
I
fair
love
play.
Ryan, man.
But we just do it out of an act of charity, don't we? Here, I mean, we don't charge for anything. There's nothing behind a paywall, as it says underneath.
Mhm.
There's no member sections or anything. We don't ask you to part with your cash in any
Like
way, shape,
and
or form.
subscribe. Do it.
That's all you gotta do, right, Kaiser?
Mhm. Yeah, that's that. Make sure you're smashing the like and subscribe, and also share the content. That's the only way we find new people, and new people come from the Celtic community. Is when you go into the other chats and go, oh, by the way, a Celtic World is okay as well. If you go over there and check it out, that helps. That helps eternally. Word of mouth really, really goes a long way, even if you are typing it.
That's funny. Craig McLean saying he gets a feeling that Ranieri doesn't tell that story. Remember one time I met Gav from a Celtic World.
He did
Well,
say it.
no.
The hell he doesn't. Tells that story all the time.
Yes, he's a popular man. No, lots of people love him.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Nice to
No
hear
doubt
it was
about
a bit of humility, Gav, and he still spoke to you as you acknowledged him. That's pretty cool. I like that.
I mean, getting up from the table, that's class, man. That's class.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go.
Any
That's the end of
songs,
it.
Gav? Do we have any Gav latest hits?
Well, it's
on what
1
we
hour
into
and
the
6
cup?
minutes, and people are preparing to go from the pub to the wine bar, as it has been compared. I don't know if you've heard this before, but a Celtic World is the pub, and Axom is the wine bar. So
Oh,
having
I've
enjoyed
always been
yourself
the
and
wine bar.
had a few
Right.
pints, that's what some
Talking
people
about-
say.
Talking about music.
Yeah.
Sarah says, us Celtic fans are lucky with the quality of YouTubers we have. And then Monty says, and a Celtic World.
Yeah.
Legends. Thank you very much.
Yes.
I know you're only talking about me, but I'm going to take those compliments anyway.
Yeah. We'll take what we can get.
All right, lads, let's wrap it up there. No music this week.
Uh,
That's a hugely successful league season for Celtic, hugely successful league season for the Celtic World. You can make it more successful by subscribing if you haven't already. It looks like Brian's off. So as he says farewell, we too will say to you goodbye.
Farewell.
Thanks for watching.
Hail, hail.
And hail, hail, everyone.